I've been alive the past 16 years, and in that time I've had many experiences that's influenced who I am today. And if I sat through here and I explained every single one of them to you, this speech would be about 16 years long. But if I had to narrow it down to three, it'd be my dyslexic diagnosis, my sister joining a travel ball team, and my discovery of the Bible. So when I was in first grade kindergarten, I struggled a lot with reading and spelling. And I was just really behind other kids in that department. And later I found out there was a good reason for this. Because when I was 6 years old, I was diagnosed with dyslexia. And anyone that doesn't know, dyslexia is a learning disability that affects children of that age. It kind of shows itself when kids try to read and write, because it just makes reading and writing very difficult. And I'm very fortunate my parents discovered that I had this disorder, because if they didn't, there's a good chance my teachers and my parents probably would have just thought I was just dumb. And I probably would have went on to be a very unsuccessful student. And I feel like that's what happens a lot with people who have dyslexia. They just never figure out that they have it, and they just kind of get left behind. But that's not what happened to me, because they took me to a center in Bowling Green for dyslexics. And there was people there, and they'd teach me how to read and write in a way that made sense to me. And today, I have no trouble reading at all. And dyslexia is it's not only a disadvantage though, it comes with a lot of benefits as well. For example, I'm very good at math because of it. I'm able to calculate things and visualize things in my head a lot better than the average person. And dyslexics are usually more creative and intuitive than the average person. And I've been described as a creative person by a lot of people, and I'd say that's due to me having dyslexia. And a lot of my personality traits and just the way I act is derived from this disorder. And it is life-changing. The fact that I found out that I had it set my life on a whole nother course. So I'd say my diagnosis of dyslexia was probably the biggest positive influence in my life. One of the biggest, top three, that's why it's in the list. Another big influence on me is my sister joining a travel ball team. I have this sister, she's 2 years younger than me, and she's a very successful athlete. She's a good softball player, good basketball player, and when she was in the first grade, she joined a travel ball team called the Sassy Sluggers. Now it seems like this wouldn't affect me at all because she's the one on the team. So like why does this have anything to do with me? But I guarantee you this influenced me just as much as it did her. Because every weekend of my life, she'd go and they'd have a travel ball tournament. They'd have a softball tournament every weekend. And I was drug along to all of them. And it got old pretty fast. And I got to where I just hated softball because all my weekends were took away from me. Back then I lived for the weekends, and now they're all gone. So I got to where I just hated it. And I'm still very averse to softball and baseball and stuff to this day. And it's just because of that, pretty much I'd say. But one day I was sitting out there, I was sitting in my seat. The sun was beating down on me. Mamas were yelling all around me. I was hearing the crack of them baseball bats. And I just kind of realized, I'm going to be stuck out here whether I like it or not. So I'm just going to make the most out of this bad situation. And I started exploring a lot of my creative interests out there. And I got really into drawing, and I got really into video production. I'd draw these big, long comic books. I'd just sit out there with a binder and a piece of paper. And I'd say I have about 7 100 to 200 page comic books in my room, just in these binders that I drew at these tournaments. And I also got into video making out there, just with some of the other siblings. We'd get my mama's cell phone and we'd compose a little video. And just this year, I submitted a video to a video contest, and I won $2,500 from it. And I say that would have never happened if I hadn't been bored out of my mind one day at a softball tournament. So I'd say these tournaments were definitely one of the biggest influences on my life because it kind of it helped me realize what a lot of my true interests and hobbies were. And the last influence is Jesus. And I know that sounds really cheesy and generic, but it's the truth. I've went to the same church as long as I can remember, and a lot of the morals I have today came from the Bible, and a lot of my taste in people also. Like, internally, I really value honesty, and when I meet someone new, I highly respect people who are very open and genuine, and I kind of dislike people who are fake. And I'd say just that taste in people kind of came from morals in the Bible. The Bible don't say to treat people like that. I'd just say I picked that up just from reading the Bible. And I try to read the Bible every day. I try to learn something from it. And I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. But the Bible, the Scripture, you know, it constantly encourages me to be better and to improve myself. So I'd say because of that, it's probably one of the biggest positive influences in my life. So now everybody watching or listening to my speech should have a pretty good idea of who I am. And it didn't even take you 16 years to figure it out. The three biggest influences are my dyslexic diagnosis, my sister joining a travel ball team, and the influence of the Bible. And this speech has really made me realize that I've lived a pretty good life so far. And I'm proud of where I've been. I'm excited to see where I go in the future. And I know everybody watching this video has something they can be proud of too. And I think the sooner you find out what you're proud of, the better off you'll be.